Hello again, everybody. So we are continuing right where we left off on our last, we'll call it a developer diary. It's turning into more of a UE4 tutorial, I guess. But we are going to be getting into more of the specifics that make my characters and everything kind of stand out a little bit more, or just a little different in general. So today we're definitely going to get into some of that, because we got a lot of the default stuff set up as far as animations and whatnot go. Since we do have the character in here now, actually let me go ahead and, we don't need the mesh in there. Let me compile that. Let me make sure that the mesh is in here, however, and he's still got that, so that's good, and we're good there. Okay. And you can see that's actually socketed to the right hand, which is pretty cool. We will want to move that depending on where the gun actually ends up being, but that's gonna be a little bit later. So what I can do here though is I can now set our first person camera to be auto active and our third person camera to not be auto active, so we can verify and make sure that our camera is forward enough. Okay. Oh, also need to enable the use control rotation. There we are. There we go. Now we can look down at our body. There's no clipping, which is good. If we run, there's no clipping. Perfect. All right. And we jump and run in different directions. All right, cool. Well, there's a little bit of clipping when we go back that way, but that's fine. We could move it forward just a little bit, but that's not really an issue. We will also be eventually changing the animation, the default animation, to the iron sights, so that the gun is actually up a little closer. Although I don't know, I might just keep that down and then have the iron sights aim and pull up when we need it. Getting ahead of myself as usual. So let's go back into our blueprints, our pawns, player pawn. Let's go into our human character. We're gonna go ahead and save that, and we just need our parent open here. So I am going to do thing here. So we're gonna move this jump down, and we're gonna actually comment this whole thing as base movement. Pull this up just so it encompasses things even when we're zoomed out a little bit. I'm gonna move this over here again, just so we can see things easily when we're zoomed out and whatnot. So next thing we want to do, so we're gonna actually set up our base attributes now. So in our variables, we can close down our components here. In our variables right now, we just have these two for movement. I'm actually going to go ahead and categorize these for movement, and you'll see that puts it into a little drop down there. We'll categorize this one into movement as well. And we can just close those out so we don't have to worry about them. So we're going to do our attributes. So our main attribute is going to be endurance. And this is actually going to be an integer, because we don't want a decimal point or anything. We want it to be a whole number. We will go ahead and categorize this as attributes. So now that category is going to be available for all the others that we make. We'll go ahead and do one here for strength. We will change that category, and we'll go ahead and do one for dexterity. There we go, typing, I can do it. And we'll put that in attributes as well. So these are our primary physical attributes. And each of these is also going to have a max. So we're going to do max endurance max strength and max dex. And we'll just drag these into here as well. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and put these in a place that they'll kind of line up a little closer with their other stuff. We are going to need, we could do local variables in a function actually. So I am looking at what I did previously, and it's a little messy as far as, which it's a lot cleaner than the last time I did it, but it is a little messy as far as like everything's kind of just vomited onto the event graph, and we're not really going to want to have that per se. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an event begin play. So this fires off as soon as you begin play. We're going to have a number of things come off of this, so we're going to actually do a sequence. And that means that it's going to sequentially fire off the different things one after another, and we can add as many as we need. So we'll go ahead and, you know what we need to do first? We need to set the defaults here. So let me compile so we can actually set our defaults. Did not think about that. So these are really work in progress numbers as I kind of work on balance and whatnot. So we're going to do 50 for endurance. We'll do 61 for strength. And then dexterity will be a 75. And if you're wondering why I'm doing these seemingly random numbers, so it is kind of a 0 to 100 scale in this case. Again, just really work in progress. But the reason I want my strength and dexterity to be different numbers is because the health system I do is going to derive from the endurance, the strength, and the dexterity. As you take damage, it takes damage from your endurance first, and that is essentially going to be equivalent to minor injuries, things that you can heal from, your body can naturally heal from on its own, right? Now, as you get your endurance damaged, things that derive from the endurance, such as your stamina, are going to suffer, so you won't be able to climb or sprint as long or things like that, as long as you are injured by your endurance. Once your endurance reaches 0, any further damage will then take from the lowest, so your secondary physical stat, whether that be strength or dexterity. So dexterity is currently the highest between those two, so it would end up taking damage points from your strength. Once your strength reaches 0, then it will take from your dexterity. Once your dexterity reaches 0, being the primary stat at that point, you will die. So your character will die at that point. And these do not heal naturally on their own. You'll have to use actual items to do so, or medical skills to do so. And the reason I did it that way, it's actually based off of the Traveler paper RPG, pen and paper RPG, tabletop RPG. That's the proper term they use, I think. And it's pretty interesting. I like it because as a person, as you take damage, you are naturally going to become worse at doing things, right? We are not bullet sponges. So as we take damage, you know, being able to, so for example, when you start taking dexterity damage, being able to still be able to aim a gun as well at somebody to shoot back at them is not realistic. If you've taken enough damage, you know, especially if this is your primary stat, and you've taken enough damage that you're now taking damage to your dexterity, that means that you're going to have a harder time hitting your opponent back. That means that you're going to want to probably hide or run away and try to heal up, because you're going to have a harder time actually completing that fight in your favor. Same thing with strength. So, you know, if you're taking strength damage, you're not going to deal as much damage with melee or anything like that. So that's kind of why I chose that system. So what we're going to do, I think, is I'm actually going to make a function for this. So we're going to do a new function. We're going to call this determine primary stat. So this is going to determine the primary stat, so which is greater, right? And currently that is the dexterity. Now on the parent character, I should set these all to 50 to make them the default, and then I can go into our child actor and actually set that. So let me do that instead of the way that I did this. So bear with me just 1 second. And I believe endurance is already 50. Yeah, okay. We'll compile, we'll save. All right, so what we're going to do is we need to make some local variables. So local variables are only really accessible from within the function that we're making, right? So one of them is going to be primary stat, which is going to be an integer. We're going to do primary stat max. We're going to do secondary stat and secondary stat max. We are also going to think actually as an exposed variable, we might want to, maybe not exposed, but definitely as a variable here, we're going to want to do primary stat name, and that's going to be the text. And we'll do secondary stat name, also a text. File these real quick here. So by default, these are going to be blank. So let's do some things with our deal here. So the first thing we're going to want to do is a branch. So I'm going to hold down B and left click. It makes a branch for us. Now a branch is, just as you see, it's a true or false statement, and it's saying is it true or is it false based on the condition that you supply it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our max strength that is set. Sorry, I was holding Alt there. If we hold down Control, we get our max strength, and then Control, we get our max dexterity. Alternatively, if you just drag them out without holding Control or Alt down, you can get the option to choose. So we want to know if this is greater than integer, greater than integer. So we're checking to see if strength, if the max strength is greater than the max dexterity. And if the max strength is greater than the max dexterity, we're going to essentially come up here and create some stuff. So we're going to do, let's see, we're going to want to set our primary stat. That'll be Alt and we'll set. And we want to set that to strength. Because again, strength is greater, true, setting the primary stat to strength. And then subsequently, that means we're also setting the max strength. That is the get, we need, set the max strength to max strength. Sorry, that's wrong. Setting the primary stat max is what we're doing here. I'll get this eventually. All right, and then from there, that means that we have our primary set to strength, right? Now the problem is that we also need to set our secondary stat. So we'll come up here and we'll just type in set secondary stat. And that's going to be dexterity, because strength was greater than dexterity in our branch here. And then very similarly, we're going to set our secondary stat max. And that is going to be to dex max. Max dex. What did I say? Dex max? Yeah, same thing. And then from there, we'll go to return node. So we want to have a return node here. And we're going to do a couple things. I know the outputs we're going to want. I think this actually works if we do it this way. Again, I didn't actually do it this way initially, so we'll work on it. So this is going to be text and text. And we do want to eventually set something up so that if these are the same, we're going to want to figure that out as well. And we can come in and add that to this function later, which will be pretty easy. So this is going to be primary stat name. Secondary stat name. Tell you what, I think what we actually need to do, we'll call this health system, and I think we actually need to make these not local variables. Okay, after putting just a bit of forethought into things and realizing that I'm going to need these variables in other sections as far as dealing with the actual health, I've gone ahead and removed pretty much that whole code, and we are going to start back over with the variables in the proper place. I've put them in a category called health system for our primary stat, secondary stat, the max, and the names of all those. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do the same thing we were doing before. So we'll go true. We're going to set and then from there, I think we can do, honestly, I feel like we can set the whole thing up without a return node at all. Doing things on the fly. Alright, primary stat name, we'll set that. Secondary stat name, we'll set that. Primary stat then is going to be strength. Secondary stat is going to be dexterity. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to actually drag these out like this. Might even do this. Just trying to find different ways to organize it. Comment that primary is strength. And then we're going to copy it and paste it. That is just the comment, not exactly what we wanted to do there. But yeah, that works. Copy this, paste this inside here. We're going to go with the false, but instead, that's going to go there. That's going to go there. Kind of swapping some things around here. This here. And this will be dexterity, and this will be strength. So I believe that actually works then. Not a return node. I'm going to do a return node just in case. I feel like it should have something ending it, right? Alright, let's compile that. We'll save it. Now we can come back here and we can do determine primary stat. So it's going to operate this function all on its own. So all of that code that we just did there is all housed within this single node, which is nice. And you can come in, double click, and take a look at it if you want to. So we'll do that for now. The next thing we're going to want to do then is to kind of show those numbers, right? So to do that, we're going to want to, we'll compile, save, close that. We're going to go into our character now. And you can see on the right, we now have all the stuff that we had basically set up. There's 2 health systems for some reason. That's not right. Primary stat name, primary stat are both part of a different health system. They don't look like it, but we'll, I see. Another video gone a little long, so we're going to go ahead and cut it off here for the time being. Again, subscribe, notify, more videos are coming. I did cut this one into 2 parts as well, so the second part should be up pretty quickly after this one. I am a little busy this weekend, so hopefully I can get these all out without too much time between them. I do appreciate any views. Please leave any comments with any suggestions, questions, all that good stuff. And I will see you next time.